and welcome to a special behind the scenes. That's what this is. Special behind the scenes for Patreon. Basically, this is a sort of a tutorial of sorts of how I made the vest for my next LARP video. And it's not made yet, so we're gonna just see if this turns out. But this is a concept that I saw on a picture that I saw a long time ago for a medieval vest, and I just thought it looked so cool and so unique and stuff. I'll have little flappy things down here. I don't know how to describe it. But so I saw something on Instagram of a cosplay remnant challenge, and basically it was to make a costume out of just remnant fabric. So I ended up getting this purple remnant fabric and this red remnant fabric, and gonna try to make this vest. That's what it has. So it's kind of, I don't know, jesterish, but I thought in these dark colors it would suit Vax very well. The reason I need it is he has to go to a coronation ball. So yeah, and we'll just see how it turns out. So going into the process a little bit, how I did this. First off, I measured my bust, my waist, and my hips. Of course, I'm a girl, so the measurements are going to be a little bit different. But then I mainly made the waist bigger and then divided it into 4 equal parts in the front and 4 equal parts in the back. And after that point, I just diagrammed it out. This is to scale. There's, I think, a 1/2 centimeter to 1 inch. And so I have the sides. The sides are a little bit thicker than the pieces. The front has a little bit of a thinner piece. This is 3 by 4. This is 4 by 4.5, I believe. And then the back, for the back panels back there, is going to be 4 by 4. Then I thought needed a little bit of something here, so these are these, and basically it makes it wider at the shoulder and wider at the base here, and then dips in. All sleeves seem to dip in just a little bit, and I don't know why that is, but I've tried doing straight sleeves before and they never really work. I also measured across, like, from shoulder to shoulder to make sure I have enough width to have that sit correctly, and then this being 3 and 3, so 6 inches at my neckline will be good. So hopefully it should all turn out. I've made several patterns in the past and most of them work out alright. It's actually a great way to make a medieval vest without very much fabric, because this is under a yard of blue and under a yard of red, and I still had quite a bit of red left after all of that, and that's enough cuts to do the entire thing and also line the entire thing. So it should be good. Anyways, I'm going to stop recording now and cut out this, and then I'm going to cut out the interfacing, and then there's a lot of pinning and sewing left to do, and hopefully it'll go well. Oh, and also, one last thing, these are gonna, well, you'll just see what they are. I'm excited about that though. Okie doke, and so there you have it. There's all the interfacing, all of the red, and all of the blue, and time to start pinning. And time lapse. I didn't really do many others of these just because I realized it would take too long with the time lapse, but it was a lot of fun. Pinning, honestly, is probably my favorite part of sewing. It's always like a challenge to me to see how much I can pin before I have to sew and how close I can get it to looking like a shirt. Just a funny thing, but yeah, I messed up pinning though. So a little bit more work done. This is where I'm at right now. So it's actually kind of a lot like quilting. you come up with, since they're a checkerboard pattern, you gotta get strips, hello kitty, you gotta get strips of fabric, and then I'll just sew these together in the way, and more pinning and more sewing. I ironed all of the hems out like that so it'd be easier for pinning, but just something to watch out for when you're doing that. So as far as interfacing goes, this is my really heavy interfacing, but I ran out and wasn't able to do all of the things, so I ended up using this one, which is an old interfacing. It's an iron-on interfacing, which isn't too bad, but I've never really liked them because I don't feel like the iron-on ones work very well. But when I went to sew the seams on the first one, it melted off. So I'm going to have one thing that either I need to replace the interfacing on, or I'm just not going to bother with the interfacing. But yeah, be very, very careful of the iron-on interfacing, because if it's not facing the correct way, it'll just melt. And I think probably using the cotton setting makes it melt anyway. There's the harp. Alrighty, bye. I just thought I'd show you this before I actually sew it together. It's just pinned, so all the panels are together in like the quilt fashion. And that's basically the inside with it fully lined, and this is what the outside's gonna look like. And then this will go inside this. I had a little bit of trouble in that I accidentally did one of the sleeve panels backwards, so I had to take that halfway out and flip everything around and redo it, and you can kind of see it's this one. See, I ironed all of them so they're laying nice and flat, but this one was backwards, so they're all laying the wrong way. But I'll iron everything later and get that done. But that's basically, it's going quite how I expected it to, which is very good, and just gotta sew this together and then put them together and do the finishing touches. Thumbs up. So here's it so far. All ironed out. All the seams are ironed. There's the outside, and there's the liner. I just have to do the final pinning, and then pin it together, and then attach the little clasps here. Tried it on, and it mostly fits. It's a little tight for him, but it'll work out. Here we are. Several days later after the LARP, I didn't quite finish the shirt because I just ran out of time. I was getting exhausted, and I realized that the armholes especially were a little bit too small, and kind of the waist was just a little bit high, and I knew, hello kitty, that if I put it together I wouldn't be happy with it. I needed to do some alteration, and I didn't have time. So now I can come at it and alter it and hopefully get it done so that I can film the kitty. That's not a toy. Yes, you're adorable, but it's not a toy. Anyways, while Kitty's playing with my hand, so I'm just gonna come back in and see. I pinned it to this shirt, so it actually looked fairly cool. This is just the liner. Stop it. This is just the liner, but I pinned it to the shirt, and then I will. What am I gonna do with you? I'm trying to film, bud. What's up? What is it? And he rolls off the table. But I pinned it to the shirt, so it actually looked fairly good. But I want to finish it before I actually do the LARP vlog and film with it. So I'm going to take it off and do a little bit of the stitching work, and then I'm going to have a whole lot of stitch ripping to go, because I pretty much am planning on taking every single one of these seams and making them just a little closer to the edge, and that will make it better, hopefully. Working on a cosplay shirt, and I've got a buddy. Hey, Pluto. You just like your mommy, don't you? Hello! Last thing, because here we have it. It's all done, and this is actually 2 LARPs later, so it didn't get done in time for the ball, but it still worked out, and it was good because I needed to wear it for both of them. But yeah, so I added the sleeves, and I have the red one and the blue one, and then it's just checkerboard, and it's fully lined too, but I can't show you that because it's actually pinned onto the shirt. That seemed to be the best way to get it to stay. So now trying to think, is there anything that's interesting about it? So originally I had done it with 5/8 seam allowances, and as per usual I tend to miscalculate on things and make them tight, but almost too tight. And especially for him, this was too tight. So for the ball, I ended up actually just wearing the liner and pinning it on, and it didn't have refined edges or anything, it just was the shirt and that's it, and it worked out just fine. Nobody really minded that much. And then I decided to actually finish it later. So what I had to do was I had to stitch rip all of these, and then I re-sewed all of these seams with a shorter seam allowance, stitch ripped all of those so that it was longer, pinned it back together, sewed all of that, and then I sewed like this seam all the way around, and then I flipped it inside out after I put the sleeves on, of course, and did these, and these I just sort of pinned and then did that. I should have, if I wanted to do it like really properly, I would have hand stitched it, but I don't like hand stitching and people don't notice it like on a camera, or I don't think the LARP really cared that much. So yeah, and that's what it ended up being. I didn't actually end up using the ribbon because I thought about it some more, and I thought, yes, he was kind of involved in the higher court system, but he wasn't like high up in it. He was just involved there. He was more like page level rather than a knight or something. I was gonna put like gold lines on all of the squares to give it an extra little bit of flair, I guess, and then also make clasps. But then I found this shirt with the cool little ruffles, so I just ended up using this shirt, and it works. And now we're done, I think, with my remnant challenge. I'd say it's a success, but it's a success that had a couple tries to get it there. So always give yourself plenty of seam allowances, and just be careful in your measurements, and don't be afraid to take out everything and redo it, because, you know, I thought about I should just finish it, and then I was like, no, you know what, I'm not going to be happy with it if it's that tight, so I need to redo the whole thing. And I did. And now I'm going to go film his Vax vlog, and hopefully I'll start crying, because this one's emotional, and that would be really awesome if he could actually cry. So, good luck. Bye.